Naked Shamanism. Welcome to With Insights Radio. I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. I will take you on a journey across the universe through shamanism, metaphysical, and holistic. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. All right. Here we go. Ready for the show. About to take off here in a minute. Fix my hat a little bit. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Iggy Garcia Live. Of course, I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. But like we do, I would like to start off with lighting a candle. Get us going here. This candle represents our ancestors, everybody who's come before us, everybody who's left the foundation and created space for us and help us get to where we need to be as we move forward through life. We remember those who gave, those who contributed through blood, sweat, and tears, and through, biology. Thank you, guys. And we're going to light a little bit of Palo Santo today. Beautiful. Beautiful smell. Just let that burn in there for a little bit while I do the show. So, I hope everybody's doing pretty good. We're rolling right across February here. February's, I don't want to call it the halfway point, but we're kind of like in the middle of the month now. Today's the 14th, Valentine's Day. And for those of you who are sharing with significant others, I hope you have a good Valentine's Day. I hope everything goes well. I hope that you enjoy your day with your loved ones. But I'm just here to talk a little bit. Earlier today, I had a little talk, with everybody on social media, a little bit about, Turkey and Syria and how I noticed on my Facebook profile, when Ukraine was invaded by by Russia, I noticed that everybody was like on board. Yeah, save Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. And so it wasn't that I was upset that I didn't see anything for Turkey, but it was kind of sad. It made me sad more than it was upset. I was a little disheartened to notice that my friends didn't have the same feel. I didn't see anything, or maybe in quiet and silence, they were responding and they were acting according to help, through donations or whatever means they can. But I just noticed that when it's kind of like a Middle Eastern or Arabic nation, it doesn't get the same result. It doesn't get the same push or pull. I mean, I could be wrong. I could just be speaking, out of turn here, but it's an observation. I just noticed that sometimes we've kind of been, to some kind of degree, we've just been kind of brainwashed a little bit to believe that some people are just the enemy and some people are not part of our, the human race. But I'm here to remind you that we're all humans and we're all here working hard to get along and to make it through life. It's difficult as it is to be a human being and then have an earthquake where 30,000 people die, and then hopefully I haven't really heard anything from our government saying that we're going to sponsor and support and help. I really haven't heard anything from the UN or anything like that. So, what about those brown people? Are we going to help them as well? If we're talking about race, color, and we're trying to create this new world of, inclusivity and unity and all this stuff that I always hear my friends talk about and throw around like it's tomorrow's new jargon. I don't see it. I don't remember anybody in my group, my little circle, even talk about it. Over here, we're talking about, the things that are happening at home, which is enough for a lot of people to handle to begin with. You have, political issues here. You have a president's situation, depending who you like. If you're Democrat or Republican, it's pretty, for some people, it's pretty I'm with that group and that's with that group. Because I remember when, all the conspiracy theories and all the people were sharing their ideas and information and stuff. I remember the group of people who slammed and fact checked and went out of the way to make sure that their point of view was heard, and that, the people who were sharing the information were debunked or they were shown differently than others. Now, granted, some things play out, some things they don't. We have these UFO and these balloons and stuff that are happening. Quite frankly, that's been happening forever. And, that's one of the things you can take off the list because it's already happened. It's already occurred. UFOs have been on since forever. And, it's like, what are we talking about UFOs? Why are we talking about this kind of stuff when we got suffering people all over the world who are dying, who are trapped under buildings and, who are suffering? We need to send aid to, to Syria. We need to send aid, to Turkey and these people who are desperately in need of water and food and, resources. This is the kind of stuff where humans have to stand up and put all political things aside, all political things, all religious and all these doctrines and all this dogma and all this crap, because that's the only thing that separates all of us is all these dogmas and all these belief systems that we think that we're better than others or our God's better than your God. Crapola. Because in the interim, if you want to see God at work, if you want to see this Holy Spirit or whatever you are aligned with, then make humanity play the part of the angelic realm to come and support and to help. But, when it makes me sad when we exclude people because they're different than us. A lot of times people just have a different way of living, a different way of being, and that's okay. And we should be okay with that. But sometimes I find that we're not okay with that because it's so different from our belief system. Religion, politics, all of it just hurts humanity, into the place where, we just we start doing things to other people. The United States is the only country that I'm aware of, okay, in World War II, that they dropped anything that remotely looks like a nuclear bomb, an atomic bomb, on innocent people, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I talked about that a little bit today. And I thought about that and I said, was that the pivotal point that changed the war? For some people, yeah, that was the pivotal point. That was that moment where the war shifted. But I don't know, to kill innocent life to prove that we can do it and we can hurt you. Man, that's just kind of crazy. The point is, why did we even get to that point? Why did we even get to that place? That's what nobody really talks about. These great awakenings, these great moments for us to aspire to do better, are right in front of us, but we don't do it. We don't do it. And I don't know, I don't quite understand why we don't do it as humans and why we have such dismay for other people in their different belief systems and their different ways of living. And it's really saddened me when I look at it and when I feel about it, when it's in my heart. We're in the crisis right now of creating, more destruction as humans. And I'm not talking about climate change or global warming. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, when countries can't come to a comprehension or understanding, that people just want to be sovereign. People just want to live a certain way and not want to be dictated, or marshaled or coerced or pushed into a situation where they feel like they can't be themselves. But this happens so much, and every day we see it. You turn on the TV, you see Russia goes into Ukraine. Ukraine is a smaller country. It doesn't have an army nearly as, no army at all compared to what went in there. Now, you hear all sides of the story that Ukraine is actually, a rogue country, blah, blah, blah. You hear all kinds of stuff. And you, as a human being, have to decide, what are you going to align yourself with? What are you going to believe in? We talked about earlier, this month has been kind of crazy. I think that we play a horse and pony show, they show us one thing and then something else has happened under here and then things we don't even notice that have occurred. They let this balloon float across our country, and everybody gets all riled up about it and we're distracted and our minds are playing games on us and we're thinking all kinds of crazy stuff. Could they drop a bomb with that balloon? Sure. Could they drop kind of chemical warfare with the balloon? Sure. Anything could happen. Humans are creative. Humans can do all kinds of crazy stuff. And now these unidentified flying objects came in. So, people are saying, well, they're aliens coming. So you're going to tell me alien flies light years to the Earth, and all of a sudden an F-16 comes in here and just shoots it down in 2 seconds. It just doesn't make sense. My theory is that it's just a drone, just like a drone, like in Star Wars, that drone that floats around on the Hoth planet, collecting information, excuse me, and looking for that thing that, which is human life forms. So the rebels can be, subdued, right, by the Empire. But, if that's anything, that would make sense. That would make sense to me. But if it was a flying ship, with intelligent life, and they're just cruising through, hey, look, we're just here to visit. Hi. Don't speak English, so can't communicate, so we shoot it down. So that's one conspiracy theory you can check off your list of balloons and UFOs and stuff. We already know that. And Americans aren't really caught up into it like we think we are, because we already know that exists. Like most of my friends say, well, we are the aliens you seek, or we've been here for so long, but regardless, it's about, the state of affairs in the world. What is going on in the world? Well, the world's a mess. The world's a mess because humans just make it a mess. We're no different than the little boy or little kid that leaves his room dirty. And when his mom says, did you clean your room? And she looks underneath the bed or looks in the closet and everything falls out. At first glance, everything looks beautiful. But when you just hide all your mess and you hide all your stuff, all your secrets underneath the bed, in the closet, it's going to fall out. So how can humanity succeed? How can humanity do better? Humanity has to be more creative. Humanity has to understand that people just want the basic necessities sometimes to be able to eat, have clean water, have clothes on the back, to heat their homes, to take care of their families. Not everybody aspires to be a millionaire and billionaire. There are some of us who are fortunate enough to get to those levels because we put in the work, or someone put us there, or, our family was there before us. But those are the kind of things that happen. But a lot of us don't have those opportunities. But those of us who have something versus nothing, we do our very best, to keep what we have, which sometimes is not very much. So if humans from day one have been screwing humans over for land, for natural resources, for, you name it. That's what humans have been very good at. We're just very good at taking things away from other people. We're very good to make people pay for something that is naturally, inherently theirs to begin with. We have all kinds of ways to do things, but see, we're in a grid now. We're in this lock now. We're in this system. We're in this system called fossil fuels. The system of fossil fuel consumption is real. It's not something that's just going to disappear one day and it's over. No, it's not going to happen like that, because now we've created the system, okay, that operates and moves the machine through those sources of fossil fueling, through those sources of fuel, those sources of, combustion. Now, listen, it's great to have electric cars. It's great that that we have solar panels. It's great that we have windmills, but all those things are constructed and made from factories that are consumed by fossil fuels. To build those things, you have to use fossil fuels. So this is something that will take a long time to integrate into the system if that's the way we want to go. Will we suffer if we don't have fossil fuels? We'll suffer in the interim. Because remember, Mother Earth will always do her thing. She's the one who's in charge. We're not in charge. When we start to understand that we're not in charge, that we are not as big and bad as we think we are, then maybe we'll learn something. But see, we're so arrogant. Humans are arrogant. And I'm talking about all of us. There's not one of us that is arrogant to the fact. You may come here and say, oh, but Iggy, I'm not arrogant. I take care of my, you could be just as arrogant in that tone. And when you put down people who don't follow your rhythm of path of existence, because humans have to also understand that, this is a collaborative issue that we have to work together. This isn't something that a few of us do. All of us work in the process of doing, or we don't. We're going to suffer. The human species will suffer because we can't adapt. We can only conform. To conform and to adapt are two different things, my friends. They may sound the same, they may sound similar, but they're not. Adaptation means you will adapt to the environment that is there. To conform, it means that you will do what is needed to go along with the group in order for your survival. That's not adaptation. There's a difference. Conforming to something that you may not even agree with, but to adapt to something because there's no other way to do it, because you need to find another way to survive, you adapt. Like animals, right? They adapt. And to conform, you're going to conform. You become a conformist or you're an adaptationist. But most of us are conformists. We conform. We conform to the things that we think will benefit us. We don't adapt because we have to. We're forced to adapt when we don't have the necessities. But when you're conforming, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're lacking. You just want to be part of it, so you conform to it and you become integrated to it in the system. You send all your kids to school. Okay, that's not adaptation. That's conforming. You conform. You all shop at the store, right? You're conforming. That's not adaptation. Adaptation means that you would go out into your garden, you would grow, and you teach others to grow, and you would all learn how to circumvent the system. But I'm a conformist. We're all conformists. We all conform to the environment that is around us because that's the only way we can survive right now. We're powerful with numbers. Humans are. Individually, we're very vulnerable, very fragile, very weak. But we don't see that because we've been integrated and taught that we're powerful, and then our minds and this and that. When humans started eating red meat and creating protein, their head got bigger, their brain got stronger, their brain power got bigger. But their bodies didn't adapt very well. Their bodies conformed to the situation. The adaptation was that we, as humans, had to find ways to survive. And how we do it? The stronger ones in the group usually were the ones who led. The weaker ones usually fell off to the side or went off into a different direction, different category. So this is what we do today too. This is what we do in this world. We're doing this. Now we create these these fictitious walls, these fictitious places, we call it, whatever you want to call it, politically correct, woke, and you either follow, you conform, or you're left to die, or you're not part of the group. That's not adaptation. That's forcing people to do things in order to do. History is one of those things that, is very vital and very important to learn and to understand. Because when you cause people, because it's no different than what happened to the Native Americans, right? They were asked to conform. So they had to learn to adapt to a new way of living that they were never familiar with, because they would either die. The downside was a lot of them became slaves. A lot of them weren't incorporated into the system. A lot of them didn't even speak the language. So now we have groups of people now forcing people to conform to ideologies and belief systems that doesn't necessarily go with the rest of the humanity's belief. It's a small minority that always creates the yelling and the hoopla in the movement on both sides, on the extreme or the conservative. It doesn't matter. One will always trump the other. One will always supersede. So here we are, we're moving through life and we're asked to see life differently because life does change. Life does move into its cycles, and where we evolve as humans. We become different. We see life differently. But we're moving into spaces that are very uncomfortable for people. And for a little bit moment, it'll be uncomfortable. It doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. Because eventually, things are kind of the way they move. It moves with everybody, or everybody just stops it. So we're moving into spaces and places in ideologies and beliefs. But what we forget to acknowledge is that no matter who you are, what you are, how you see yourself, how you identify yourself, how you feel about yourself, we're still human beings. There's no getting out of that. There's no way to remove yourself from that. You can't just turn into something, that you can't turn into a frog because you want to be a frog. No, you're biologically a human. And when you understand that you're a human being, you're biologically a human, then you have connection. You have something you're a part of. You're contributing to something. If you remove yourself from the group or the way you look at things, then what happens is you become isolated. All right, in your own thinking, or you become isolated by the group, or you isolate the group, and then you find your little troop and your tribe, and then you live happy ever after, whatever. But the thing is, we're getting into a really interesting place in history and interesting time, especially when I do my shamanic work. You start to see people going through these different changes and these different adaptations of themselves. It's evident that humanity will change, evident that humanity will evolve and humanity will do its thing. It's also very critical that humans also find common ground with one another and understanding one another. What happens sometimes, humans don't do that because they just don't trust each other. They don't give each other enough credit. So many people have been hurt. Some people have been wounded. So many people feel a certain way. And then we carry this living dialogue inside of our body, inside of ourselves, that doesn't care about us, or no one wants to listen to us. No one wants to give us the time of day. And for some episodes in your life, yes, that's true. There are people who don't give a rat's ass about you or me or anybody. They care only about their beliefs and their agendas and their systems. So, knowing that, we have to figure out a way, because we can't they're not going to go away. These people aren't just going to disappear. They're not just going to go off into la la land and just vaporize and be gone. And this is on both sides. This is on both sides of the coin. Humanity is evolving. Humanity is evolving through the creativity, the experimental, the ideology of the belief of what we think is real. And what is that? It's because we have dogma, we have doctrine, we have religion, we have atheism, we have, ways of identifying ourselves. We have all these different things. Sometimes people like simplicity, and that's it. Leave it simple, leave it at that. There are some other people who just like to complicate things, and that's fine. You can leave it like that and move on. But we as human beings must understand, even though we have our belief system, doesn't mean that everybody's going to believe us. Not everybody's going to carry that on. I can believe something. I can believe things about shamanism and that it's amazing, it's great. But that doesn't mean that everybody's going to follow that. Not that everybody's going to move into that category with me and be with me in that. No. To be different and to be in a different belief system, so it could be a lonely place sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with being in a lonely place, as long as you know that, people won't see you for who you are and how you are. They will only see through your behavior and how you act. People don't judge you just because of your looks. People judge you by how you respond and how you react. Yes, first appearances will always trigger people's minds to go into a different category, but that could be changed. But most of the time, when people who have a different appearance, a different look, get triggered by the person who's looking at them, and then the person who's looking at them says something stupid and off color, and it just causes a wild storm of stuff. But that's the price we pay when we want to be different. We have to understand that when we step out of the norms of society, how society has been structured and created, you will have these backlashes. This is a normal thing. You must ride the wave. If you're not willing to ride the wave, you're going to have a hard time. And if you're going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting, that never solves anything, because you never win anybody to your side or to your point of view or your point of understanding. A lot of young people do this, it's kind of like teenager mentality. They just scream and yell and think that you're going to hear, when you're yelling, the only thing you want to do is stop the yelling so you can kind of get an understanding of what's happening. But a lot of people don't stop yelling because when baby cries, baby gets fed or baby gets ignored until baby falls asleep. And people are just hoping you fall asleep. People are hoping that you just go cry yourself off in a corner. But anyhow, so I've indulged myself in all kinds of information, and I've been studying, and this is what I've been doing for the last month and a half, because I find it's important. It's important to know what you're up against and what you're learning and what you're doing. To be one-sided and just be opinionated to one point of view can landlock you, and you just, that's all you know. But you also have to know how the other side works, how the other team plays, how the other guy plays chess, or the other person plays, soccer or whatever. You got to know. You study, right? I watch Fox News. I watch MNBC, whatever. I watch ABC. I watch CNN. I watch them all. It doesn't matter. How am I supposed to know how the other side thinks if I don't engage and learn and see how they talk and how they move and how they interact, what they're thinking, what's going on in their mind? Because I might surprise myself, oh, well, you know what? I never thought about that. But we're so, as humans, we're so like, nah, I don't get to lie to myself with that, because you know what? Because that's what they want to bring. Not, you brainwash yourself every day. We brainwash ourselves every day. We hypnotize ourselves every day. Every day you're hypnotized. You're watching my show, you're hypnotized. You're engulfed, you're watching my show. Because all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You've hypnotized yourself to believe that this show's good. And it is good. No, just, you watch, because I'm not afraid to speak what I think I want to hear myself say, not what I want people to hear. I don't talk because I'm trying to win one crowd over the other. No, absolutely not. I'm sharing my thoughts with you because I live in this world with you too. And I watch, and as a shaman and as a leader in my community, in the work that I do, my clients are not just all Democrats or Republicans or, right or left. They're everybody. I have to know how to talk to everybody. I have to know how to engage everyone, painful as it is, or not of alignment with it is. When you get a massage, nobody asks you your gender. Nobody really asks you, your political affiliation. You just jump on the table, and we all have the same muscles pretty much. We all have the same organs pretty much. We all have the same red blood pretty much. And you give permission for someone to lay hands on you and run energy through your body by manipulating the energy through the muscles, through their hands, to help move that energy so you can feel better. But it's not necessarily about, hey, what's going on? No, life is like that. Life is like that. It's presented to us. We're laid on the table, and then we can absorb what we want to keep, and we release what we don't want. See, a good student I always tell my students, it's a good thing to understand, to learn, to listen, and to then make your judgments from that, versus giving your opinion that nobody asked for until they ask you. Say, well, I see it this way, but I understand that you see it that way. There's no need to be angry and frustrated because somebody else thinks differently than you. Because somebody else has wants a different, thing for the group. In the end, the group will decide what's best for everybody, because that's how we live. That's how humans live. We come to a consensus sometimes that we agree that we're going to do things a certain way. And the consensus is that we're going to travel, we're going to work like this, we're going to do this, we're going to pass this bill, we're going to do this bill, we're going to not do this, we're going to do that. But, there's always going to be that one person's or people's, who are just not in alignment with that, even with the consensus. And they have the right to complain. They have the right to voice their opinion. But the thing is, when consensus is found, which forces conformality, you conform. Now, the people who don't follow to conform, what they do is they go and conform with the other group, which creates an adaptation for them to all survive in the same world. But we're all still drinking the same dirty water. We're all still breathing the same dirty air. We're still flushing our toilets, every time we use it, and sending it down the street to get processed and re-drink that dirty water again. And we filter our air thinking that, these little machines we put in our house is going to satisfy and clean up the air. What happens when we don't have that stuff? How does your body respond? Too pure and too purified sometimes can be not good for us, because then our body doesn't understand, doesn't create the right flora, the right antibodies to protect us and to share and to protect us from germs and bugs and stuff. It's okay to get dirty once in a while. I mean, not extreme dirty, because, some things will kill you. Some bacteria and some Viruses will kill you. All of us have traveled these roads. Those are all of us who are lucky to be alive right now and fortunate to be alive. We ran into a series of, of we ran into a series of situations in the last 3 years where there was an epidemic. Was there? I don't know. People did die. A lot of people died, according to the news media, according to the CDC, and according to everybody who's in control, because I don't know. I almost died, but I didn't. Those who are falling over having heart attacks now, nobody knows why. It's happened before. People have died having heart attacks playing sports and stuff. But there's an increased number now. We don't know why. Some people would say it's because of this or that. It could be. I don't know. We'll never know the truth because the powers that be will never tell us exactly why. Because they don't want us to get scared. They don't want us to be fearful. They want us to be conformists. They want us to be lockstep in line. They want us to be there. They want us to consume. There is none of us here, none of us. There's not one person here. You may grow stuff, but almost everybody who listens or watches or doesn't watch this show buys things at the store. It could be a couch. It could be a chair. It could be at the thrift store. But you're buying stuff. You're consuming. You're a consumer. We've been taught to consume. That's why it's called consumer. You are a consumer. You are a customer. And the customer is not always right in this particular system. They just want you to spend your hard-earned money to buy more things. And they teach us that. If you have an iPhone, if you have a Google phone, if you have an Android phone, you are a consumer. If you're watching my show on your computer, if you're watching you are a consumer. I don't care how great and how wonderful you think we all are as humans. Every single human being, except for that really poor person maybe who has nothing and, finds everything that he can or she can in the garbage pile, like you've seen videos, probably is the purest, most sentient human being. Not because they did anything special. It's just because they were born into a situation that they had no control over. And see, here we are. We're in the most powerful country in the nation. We're the most powerful country in the world, according to who you ask. But we have so many amazing opportunities to do so many great things. And yet we squander things in this country because we have so much. When you have so much that you don't even know what to do with it, that your mind just goes in all kinds of weird directions because you can't quite grasp onto the gravity of how much we really have here. Our roads are drivable. Most of our roads, right? The majority of our roads, I'm just going to say it, the majority of our roads where we all live are drivable. If it snows, there's usually a salt truck, okay? There's usually a restaurant down the street. We have a lot of accessibility here in this country. A lot of accessibility. We have a lot of accessibility. But we just don't see it sometimes because we're living in it. Now, I'm not here to shame you because you're here and you have this opportunity. But think about that. So we're going to take a little break. But what I want to say is go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to Iggy Garcia. It says it's good to be here. Look for that. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook. But subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe. So I can keep in touch with that and so you can share. Send me a message through YouTube. Send me a message through Instagram. Either way. IggyGarcia.com. You can find all information about the work I do and keep up with my events and drummings and classes that I share. You can make a personal appointment with me and I can work one-on-one with you through coaching, through inspiration, intuitive coaching. So that's my shameless plug. So back to the show. So, humanity is at a, and I'm sure this has been said a lot of times. Humanity is at a cusp. Humanity is at a crossroad. I'm sure back in 1552, there was some other guy going, humanity is at a crossroad, we crossed the sea in 1492 and here we are. Now we're at the crossroads. We're going to do, imagine, just think about this for a second. Think about this. And it's hard to grasp sometimes because we're so emotionally triggered and so emotionally charged in our lives and the things that happen to us and the things that affect us that we forget about all this other stuff. But it took a lot of people, okay, and I do this every time when my show starts, right? It took a lot of people to get you here. A lot. 7 generations deep is usually what they say, what it takes to get you here. These are ancestors. These are people who you've never met. These are people who were doing stuff like you were. The difference was, here's the difference. And this is what I always find kind of interesting. The difference is this. They didn't have computers. They didn't maybe not even have a car. Maybe they're fortunate enough to have a horse, a goat, or a cow, or a llama in my case. They may not even have had a home. But we don't think about those things that our ancestors laid a deep-rooted foundation for us. And yet we're over here crying, oh, life's so hard. It's so terrible. Well, I'm just suffering so bad because someone's yelling at me. We have a lot of control in our lives. We have a lot of say what happens in our lives. What we don't do is we don't step into our power. We don't step into that power because of fear. If I leave, I'll have to start over. If I go, oh my God, what will I do? I don't have a college education. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And that's scary, man. I get it. I understand. But I'm talking about your ancestors who, they probably had the same underwear, the same shoes, same clothes for long periods of time. Here, I have a lighter. They were probably going, I have a thing that charges my phone. This is a battery. It's overkill, but it's just for my tools too. I have these ear pods, whatever you call them. I'm just looking here. Soap, okay? The biggest thing we have is medicine. The biggest thing we have is vitamins. Your ancestors didn't have vitamins. They knew how to eat from the ground. They knew how to forage. They knew how to hunt. They knew how to build things. So think 7 generations of your family. And we're all related. We're all connected. This is the deep part. Because if you think about it, if you were to calculate every human being that's alive, there should be trillions of us. Trillions. But we all have common ancestors. But we don't talk about it. We don't know it because genealogy has been displaced. Those of you who have done Ancestry.com or Me in 23 and all those things, it'll take you to the most prominent bloodline you have, you're indigenous or whatever, to the 1% that's left in your body from, and your siblings will have completely different. My sister has Neanderthal. And one of my sisters, I'm like, where did that come from? I thought it was kind of funny. Nothing against my sister, but I thought it was kind of cute. I'm like, damn, I want some Neanderthal. That would make a lot of sense why I act a certain way, but I don't have it. It makes sense why she has it. Things start to make sense. We are the compilation of many people, let alone your mom and dad, your grandma, your grandma, your great-grandma, your great-grandpas, and all the people that come before you, And it's just fascinating when you start to think about it, when you start to dig. And, every human being is their individual person. even with all the genes that have been passed down, every human being that sits inside that womb of the mother is an individual human. It's an individual person with an individual story to tell or to write and create. You know, if my mom wasn't able to birth me because of the situations that we had, you know, when she had appendicitis and they took me out and they didn't know if I was going to survive. So I was born twice in a sense, you know. The amazing thing is this. What if I had died? What if I hadn't made it? What if in that moment, my body and my spirit wasn't just ready to push? But a part of me fought, right? I mean, that's what I want to believe. I'm here. Is, you know, if I wasn't born, hypothetically, you would not be watching the show. Nothing that you would know in a relationship with me, anything that you would even believe that you know now and how it flows has a connection through me, through you. If I know you, we all have a connection. So it's very fascinating that if one little thing is removed out of that timeline, it would recreate a new timeline. Yes, it would create a whole new story. It would never exist. So it's amazing to think of the story that we have created in, if we're living, in the messages and the stories and the things we write and leave behind, in the behaviors that we leave behind. It's fascinating. It's interesting. Not everybody makes it. Not everybody is born. It's a miracle. It's a I forget what it was. It's 1 in a billion chances to be born. Who you are, who you are, who you are, who I am. You are a unique specimen of you. There is no other you. There is no other version of you. There will never be another version of you as you are today. Your spirit, your energy will conform and move into the next realms of existence, however that moves. But there will never be another you. You. Ever. Never. Not even remotely close. Even if my grandkids look like me, act like me, they just pick up, you know, traits and stuff. But they're never going to be another Iggy Garcia. They're never going to be another anyone. Some of us are like, well, I'm glad that guy ain't coming back. We don't need more of those, but I wish we had more of those guys or those gals, you know. But doesn't that interest you? Doesn't that fascinate you? That we put so much emphasis on the things we don't have and the things that we lack and the things, but yet we're the most precious miracle that ever existed. The most precious thing. But we don't see ourselves that way. We don't see ourselves as a miracle. We see ourselves as, oh, I wish I wasn't born into this world. It's so crummy. Sometimes. Yeah, the world's crummy sometimes. And so what? Do you want to live a crummy life because other people make it crummy for you? But do you want to live a life that's fulfilling and exciting? Then that's your job to figure that out. What's that going to be? What's it going to be for you to make a fulfilling life? Something that's amazing and wonderful. You know, there are people who died in these earthquakes. This is my point. There are people who died. There are people who will never be with us ever again. And those people, we may not know them directly, but there are other people who know them. There are people who know their stories. There are children who will never be able to tell the story or create the story or be part of the story moving forward because they're no longer with us. You know, every human has a potential to be the most precious gift to the world. We don't know when the next human being is born who creates the most amazing environment, the most amazing find, the most amazing cure, the most amazing entertainment, because life is cut short. And some of us aren't even born because just because people's decisions about what they feel in their belief systems. But you know, it's interesting. It's interesting that the miracle that we are as humans is really totally discounted. And I know some people will not invest in their lives and they're happy. the way they are, and they're happy with what they have. And, I'm like, great. I'm not here to conform you. I'm not here to tell you you can't live like that. All I'm saying is this. Redefine yourself. If you're not happy with your life, you're not happy who you are, redefine who you want to be. And when you redefine about who you want to be, that also means that you have to really, 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 really look at things very different than you have been. Because I'll tell you one thing, to redefine who you want to be and to live life differently, you got to make some changes. You got to do some work. You got to put some effort into it. Some of us are very fortunate things just fall in our lap. But for the majority of us, it doesn't happen that way. I'll say things do fall in my lap sometimes. I'm pretty fortunate. But the majority of the time, I have to do a lot of work. And it gets really hard sometimes. Even to think what it means to redefine who you want to be and how you want to see life, how you want to experience life. That is just hard in itself. But I'll tell you, I watch some of these people who sometimes people mock and people make fun of and people, put down or say, oh, that guy's a dick or that girl's, she's a whore, blah, blah, blah. But I go, they're redefining their lives because they probably were never like that at one point. And they just say, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with that. I don't want to be like that anymore. I don't want to be like the average person, whatever average person is. The person who just doesn't give a crap, just does whatever he does and keeps doing the same thing over and over and expects change. But I watch people on podcasts and stuff who do things and try things because they can. There's this one guy who tried to be a comedian. Was he good at it? Not necessarily good, but he did it. He did a podcast. He wrestled, and another guy, another gal did this and she did that. But they try things. Life is about trying out new coats, new shirts, new ways of living. Most people want us to do things because that's the way they did it. You got to go to college because if you don't go to college, you won't get a good job. You won't get $30,000 a year or $40,000 a year. You got to have a degree. If you don't have a degree, I'm not knocking degrees. I have an associate's degree, but that doesn't take you anywhere anymore, right? But I have friends who are master's degrees. Okay, I have friends who are doctorines. They have their doctor's degree. And you know what? They can't find a job. They can't find a job because they're overqualified or they just don't fit the mold for that, or their line of study doesn't fit anything that they studied. So it's like, what's the right answer? Now, can't they find it because they're not looking deep enough, or they're not willing to move, or they're not willing to do things? That could be something. Some people are comfortable where they're at. So if you're comfortable where you're at, you're not going to move, right? And there are a lot of people like that. I know a lot. I'm kind of like that. I like Columbus, Ohio. And though I know there's other places to visit, other places to live, but I've been here so long. I just love Columbus and I love the people. My family's here. My grandkids are here. My other 2 sets of grandkids are in California. I'd love to be there. Oh, but the cost of living is too expensive. But you know what? When there's a will, there's a way. When you want something bad enough, you'll go for it. You'll figure it out. When you don't care and you don't have any drive and you're just, you're like Debbie Downer or whatever they call them, and you're just totally down. You just don't care. You find yourself alone, and then you prove to yourself that you're right because you're alone. Nobody likes me. Nobody likes you because you don't like yourself. Nobody likes you because you don't really inspire people to do anything. People get inspired by other people too. You watch someone's way of living, you're like, oh man, I don't know that. Oh, wait. Oh, I feel bad for them. You feel bad for them doesn't mean that they feel bad for themselves. But see, that's human nature, no? We look at people and we think they have it hard and off, worst off. Man, they might be content living like that. And that's the way they want to live. And that's the things the humans sometimes we miss. You know, not everybody can do a podcast. Not everybody wants to do a podcast. Not everybody wants to just be on the radio or share or broadcast themselves all over the world. I seem to enjoy that. You know, I seem to like it. And you know, I'm redefining myself as I work through these progresses of these shows. Because I have to improve. I have to get better. Because this is my craft. This is my life. This is what I enjoy doing. I could have a 9 to 5, be miserable, bring home paychecks consistently, you know, but then just be totally sick, not well, not taking care of myself. But that doesn't mean I was going to be that way. My whole way of life would be different. I'd have to find a new strategy to live. Got to get the anchor off my back. Got to get the anchor off your back. When you look back there's this anchor we carry, and we drag it through life. And it's always the excuses of why we don't do things and why do we move into the direction we want to move into. And then we conform into a relationship. We become conformists. One of the parties are more dominant than the other. One spouse is more dominant than the other. It doesn't matter if it's man or the woman, or the woman and the woman, or the man. It doesn't matter. One is always dominant, and one conforms. One adapts into that conformity. And then that's kind of where problems happen in relationships, because people gave away themselves in order to conform so they can have a better life, so they can keep peace in their home, keep peace in their relationship. Why? Because to begin with, they didn't have the tools or the idea how to communicate to one another what they were feeling. You know, you watch those relationships where people are married for long periods of time, 65 years, 55 years, 30 years, 40 years. You have to question and say, what got them to stick together like that? I mean, I'm sure they had fights, and I'm sure they've had infidelities. I'm sure they've had all kinds of crazy stuff happen to them. But do you ever wonder why they stuck it out? Did they stick it out because they were always happy? Did they stick it out because maybe they just knew that kind of stuff was part of being in a relationship? I'm not talking about abusive, okay? I'm not talking about hurting someone. Just the sheer fact that you're going to have these lows, these dips, and these highs, and you're going to go through these emotional triggers with people, because that's what humans do. We're creatures of feelings and emotions, you know? So I always think it's really cool when people have stuck it out. Because I know it wasn't easy. It can be, because I've been married 33 years, and I can tell you it's not easy. It's not easy because you have to invest, you have to put a lot of time into it, and you have to sometimes submit a little bit and drop your guard and listen to what the other person's saying, and vice versa. If you're lucky to have a partner who does the same for you, then that's amazing. But if you have a partner who just totally dominates and controls, that could be hard. That could be difficult. But in the end, we're all human beings. We're all humans. We just want to be loved. We want to be cared for. We want to be acknowledged for who we are, for what we accomplish, and all the things that we give to the world. You know, you may say they're going, I don't want anybody. I don't need to prove anything. No, that's not what I'm saying. You have to hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. You want to be acknowledged as a living, breathing, sentient, honorable, loving human. And what do the humans do? They do things. They are doers, and they are beings. You're a human doing and human being. You're being and you're doing. In what you do, in what you be, doesn't necessarily define who you are. That just means that there's processes in the things that you work through. So you just do the very best you can with the moments that you have with yourself, with the people you love, the people you care about, and all that comes with that. Because in the long run, our final destiny is that this version of ourselves will depart this planet, will depart this world. Excuse me. We will depart this world. Coming into this world, we're born knowing that one day we will leave it. And the people who have birthed us, our mom, our mother who birthed us, who carried us for, 9 months. She didn't know what she was doing. She just knew it was happening. They wanted to have a family. They wanted to raise kids, in my particular situation, same with my wife. We wanted to have children, and we got exactly what we wanted, boy, girl, boy, But the thing is this. Some of us will have regrets. Some of us will, say, hey, I wish I had done more. And some of us will say, hey, I did everything I possibly could. I did everything I liked. I did everything I could. What I can say is I've done a lot of stuff in my life. I've done a lot of cool things. I've done a lot of not so cool things. I've had a lot of failures, and I've had a lot of down moments, but I had some amazing up moments too. Because that's the story of a human being. Our ups and our downs. We have them. I have this on my microphone. You can see that there. It says, it's good to be here. You see that? Right there. I have that on there as a reminder. While we're here, we might as well enjoy it. We might as well give thanks to it. It's good to be here. And that's my motto. I live by that. And it doesn't always feel good to say, but you know what? Sometimes I have to say it in order to get me to that space too. Because it unfolds and it opens up the universe for me for unlimited potential in what happens in my day. And sometimes I shout and sometimes I just say it. It's good to be here. Sometimes when we drum, we say, it's good to be here. Because it is good to be here. And one day when you truly feel it in your heart, you'll know what I mean when I say that. It's good to be here. Because the actual saying is, it's good for us to be here. I just shorten it up a little more, more hip hop. It's good to be here, Because I believe that. I truly believe that. And the biggest thing that I will miss is the people that I've made friends with, the life, the journey, the beautiful tapestry that I've painted, which I call my personal life, my personal wake, and my personal journey. That's what I'm going to miss. My grandkids, my family. But one day I'll be tired and I'll be ready to go, because that's what we do. That's what we do. I'll have that. I'll know. You'll know this time when it's your time. If you're fortunate enough to know. Until then, I'm going to enjoy the ride. Do the best I can. And I encourage you to do the same. You just do your best. Because what else do you have? You are the ship captain. You control your destiny and how you experience your destiny. So however you want to experience it, that is up to you, my friends. I can't tell you how to do it, nor would I tell you how to do it, unless you ask me what I thought about something. I would give you my perception on it. It doesn't mean you're going to do it. I've had countless people tell me how to do things. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in, everybody being here with me and sharing their time. I love you guys dearly. It's good to be here. So visit me on YouTube, Iggy Garcia. It's good to be here. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit me on iggygarcia.com. And I will see you guys next time at a drum circle. And I will see you next time at an event. And with that, I want to say thank you very much. Have a good evening and take care of yourselves and do the very best. And I'll see you next time.